This past Wednesday, I attended my college's game show, presenting my game, Sliding Glide. Going into this event, I was looking forward to finally getting feedback on my game and to truly see if it was on track to release in early 2025. This was a new experience for me that I have never thought I would actually do, and I'm glad I did. So stick around to find out how it went. I just want to let everybody know that within the next week, my game's Steam page will be going live. This is a big step for my game, so please subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notified when I release the video announcing the Steam page. And a huge thanks to everyone who supports the channel and my game. Let's get into the video. The last 2 weeks I've been preparing for this game show after being told on a late notice that I was presenting my game. With this late notice, I quickly got to work polishing the parts of the game that I wanted to show at the Game Expo. Then over this past weekend, I was focused on finishing the actual build and music that would be played at this game show. And after finishing the build this past Monday, I had a friend play the demo to get some final feedback before finalizing everything. And I'm glad I did. For the most part, he really liked it, but the thing that stuck out to him for being underbaked was the tutorials. And I totally agreed. The tutorials were not very clear and were at times a little confusing. I also never thought to teach the player that there was variable jump height, which is an important aspect. This all caused my friend to struggle at points where I had to tell him the controls instead of the game teaching him like it's supposed to. After my friend was done playing, and after we talked for a little bit about the overall feedback on the demo, I got back to work. I went through and added text to the input prompts to make them more clear, and I also made sure I did not assume the player knew anything about my game. An example of this is with the sword attack and being able to aim the attack. This was a huge oversight I realized when watching my friend play. He never once aimed the attack and just relied on the fact that the character attacked in the direction he was facing by default. This wasn't a huge deal, but the game is meant to be played with the player aiming the attack for greater flexibility and fluidity during combat. With some more minor changes to the layout of the demo, the game was ready for the game show, so let's jump into how it went. Setting up for the expo, I was a little worried that people wouldn't play the game or just say bad things about it, but once people started coming through the doors, that all went out the window. Immediately, the poster for my game was catching people's eyes and people started coming up to play. Most people were able to grasp the controls from the tutorial sections, which I was super happy about, and I actually got a couple compliments on the tutorial section, specifically the text that was included with the button prompts, which made them super clear, as well as the fact that I have sections in each tutorial where the player can't die when learning a new mechanic, and then they have to do the exact same section except there are now spikes. I've talked about this format of teaching new mechanics before, and the feedback I received goes to show how effective it actually is. One thing I did notice was that the player movement was just a little floaty. I could tell the floatiness of the movement made the precise platforming a little more difficult, and that was not intended. People really struggled with the sections where they had to land on a one tile wide platform, which is a bit of an issue when you're making a precision platformer. But not many people actually mentioned it, and they just got used to it. Part of the movement I got a lot of positive feedback on was the gliding mechanic. People found it super fun, and I was actually quite surprised. Over the past 2 years playing with that one mechanic that was in the game from the start, I kind of got bored of it, and I thought it was kind of boring, but obviously I was wrong. People felt that the fact that you cannot glide without moving horizontally made it more engaging and realistic, which I did not anticipate. I assumed people would be annoyed that they automatically stop gliding when they stop moving horizontally. Taking this into account, I will more than likely add new sections to the game that focus more on the gliding. And now to quickly rewind back to the tutorial sections, there was a part that I noticed people didn't 100% grasp. When players got to the section where they got the wooden sword ability, there were a lot of cases where people didn't understand the aiming prompt and just went past it. This is the same issue I ran into when my friend playtested the game. But also like my friend, the players just attacked based on the direction they were facing. Playing like this didn't hinder the experience, and to be honest, it seemed players were more engaged playing this way because it added a little more difficulty to the combat and required more focus to actually land attacks on enemies without getting themselves hit. The last bit of major feedback I got to improve the game was to make a dynamic camera for when the player is in the air. Only one person brought this up to me, but I noticed that when people were required to drop down to a platform they couldn't see, they would just slowly glide down until they could see that it was safe. This issue was a mild oversight by me because I made the game and I know what every area of the game looks like, so I don't have to worry about seeing what's coming when I play. Even though this issue didn't hurt anybody's playing experience, experience, it would be a nice quality of life change that I feel most players will be happy with. Other than that, there was some small suggestions like making the player sprite match the angle of slopes when walking up them, as well as making a point system for defeating enemies to incentivize attacking the enemies, because there's a lot of the combat sections you can just run past the enemies and you don't even have to worry about it. So that is something I'm gonna have to look into and decide if I want to add that in. So now that the Game Expo has passed and I have gone through all the feedback, I am really confident in my game. In my video, Was It All for Nothing, I talked about whether or not the game was actually fun, and based on the feedback, yes, the game is fun. I had people who came back to play the game a second time, and people who told me they wish there was more they could play. These two scenarios are great indicators of a fun and engaging game, and I want the entire game to be like this. That's why in the next few months, I will be working hard on polishing the game and making it even more fun and engaging to play. To see those updates, don't forget to like and subscribe, as well as leave feedback down below. And if you want to see last week's progress leading up to the game show, that video is in the top right hand corner. And if you want to learn how to defeat imposter syndrome, you can find that video in the top left hand corner. Make sure to stay tuned for the Steam page announcement video, and I appreciate everyone who watches these videos. And this is RBC Mr. Rhodes, signing off for now.